My name is Zara Washington, and I'm 33 years old now. But this story begins when I was just 10 years old, standing alone on the deck of a cruise ship, clutching my stuffed elephant Coco, watching the Georgia coastline disappear into the distance, while my mother, Denise Washington, was safely back on shore, having deliberately abandoned me to the open ocean. She didn't leave me at a relative's house. She didn't drop me off at school and forget to pick me up. She bought 2 tickets for a mother-daughter Caribbean cruise, boarded the ship with me, took smiling selfies on the deck, then slipped away before departure, leaving me to sail away alone into the Atlantic. Why would a mother do such a thing? Because she was tired. Tired of single motherhood. Tired of responsibility. Tired of what she saw as the burden of raising a child alone. In her mind, I wasn't her daughter. I was the weight holding her down from living her best life. But that betrayal, as devastating as it was, became the foundation for something she could never have imagined. A life so successful, so fulfilling, that she would spend years trying to find a way back into it. This is my story. I grew up in Magnolia Springs, Alabama, a small town where everybody knew everybody's business. Our neighborhood was filled with modest homes, front porch swings, and the sound of gospel music drifting from open windows on Sunday mornings. My mama, Denise, was a real estate agent known for her bold personality. She wore bright red lipstick, drove a white Cadillac, and could sell ice to an Eskimo, as folks used to say. My daddy, Marcus Washington, was different. Quiet, gentle, he owned a small auto repair shop on the edge of town. He taught me how to change a tire, how to braid friendship bracelets, and how to find the Big Dipper in the night sky. For the first few years of my life we were happy. Not rich, but rich in love. The cracks started showing when I was about 6. Mama would stay out late showing houses, while Daddy worked longer hours at the shop. They'd argue behind their bedroom door. Sharp whispers that cut through the thin walls. I'd hold Coco tight and pretend I was somewhere else. Then one morning, I found Daddy sleeping in the garage on an old couch. His work clothes still on. 3 months later, he was gone. Mama said he chose his cars over his family, but I learned years later that he'd fought for joint custody and she'd refused. She told me he didn't want me, but that was the first of many lies. After the divorce, Daddy moved to Los Angeles, trying to rebuild his life. He sent postcards, called when he could, but Mama made sure I never answered. She'd roll her eyes and say, "Don't go chasing after a man who walked away from you, baby girl." But he hadn't walked away from me. She'd pushed him away from both of us. When I was 8, Mama met Andre Mitchell at a real estate conference in Atlanta. He was everything she thought she wanted. Flashy car, designer clothes, smooth talk about big business deals. Within 6 months, Andre and his 11-year-old daughter Brielle moved into our house. That's when my childhood truly ended. Brielle got my room, the one with the window seat where I used to read. I was moved to the cramped office with a fold-out cot. My artwork came down from the refrigerator, replaced by Brielle's dance competition photos. Mama started calling us my girls, but somehow only Brielle got new clothes, spa days, and private dance lessons. I tried to understand. Maybe Mama was just excited about having a bigger family. Maybe she was trying to make Brielle feel welcome. But when I won the school spelling bee and brought home the certificate, it disappeared from the refrigerator overnight, replaced by a flyer for Brielle's next recital. I became invisible in my own home. Straight A's went unnoticed. My short story published in the school newsletter was never mentioned. When I taped my honor roll certificate to the refrigerator, it was gone by morning. The message was clear. Brielle was the daughter who mattered, and I was just taking up space. By the time I turned 10, I'd learned not to expect attention, praise, or even basic acknowledgement. So when Mama came home that March evening, bouncing with excitement and waving 2 cruise tickets, I didn't believe her at first. "Surprise, baby girl," she beamed, pulling me into a hug that felt foreign after months of distance. "Just you and me, a luxury Caribbean cruise. Mother-daughter bonding time." My heart actually skipped. Really? Just us? Of course, she smiled, and for a moment, she looked like the mama I remembered from when I was little. We need this. No distractions, no drama, just my baby girl and me. She took me shopping. Let me pick out a new sundress, sandals, and a sun hat. We got our nails done together, and that night, she braided my hair while humming old gospel songs. For the first time in 2 years, I felt like I mattered. We drove to the Charleston port early that morning. I clutched Coco, trying to take in the massive ship, the crowds of excited families, the sense of adventure. Mama held my hand as we boarded, bought me a fruity drink with a little umbrella, and took picture after picture. "Smile big, baby," she said, holding up her phone. "We're making memories." Then, as we stood on the deck watching other families find their spots, she leaned down and whispered, "I need to run back to the terminal real quick. Something's wrong with my suitcase, they need to check it. You stay right here on this deck, okay? Don't move. I'll be right back." I sat on a lounge chair by the railing, swinging my legs, watching the port bustle with activity. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. The sun was getting lower, and I could hear announcements over the ship's speakers about departure preparation. Finally, a voice boomed across the ship. "Final boarding call for all passengers." Final boarding call. Panic set in. I ran to find a crew member, my heart pounding. "My mama went to get her suitcase," I told the uniformed woman. "She's not back yet." The crew member frowned and checked her clipboard. "What's your name, sweetie?" "Zara Washington." "My mama is Denise Washington." The woman's expression changed. "Oh, honey. According to our records, you're registered as an unaccompanied minor. We have signed consent from your father, Marcus Washington." "No," protested. "He's not here. He didn't sign anything." But when they showed me the form, there was Daddy's name, scrawled across the signature line. Except it wasn't his handwriting. I knew his writing well enough to recognize the forgery. Mama had planned this. She'd lied to the cruise line, forged documents, and abandoned me to the ocean. As the ship pulled away from the dock, I stood at the railing, searching the crowd on shore for any sign of her. But she was gone. At 10 years old, I was alone on a ship with 3,000 strangers, sailing toward the Caribbean, with no idea when, or if, I'd ever see land again. I spent that first night curled up in my tiny cabin, holding Coco so tight I thought I'd squeeze the stuffing out of her. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't stop the questions spinning in my head. Why would she do this? Didn't she love me? What was going to happen to me? The next morning, while families were eating breakfast and kids were splashing in the pool, I wandered the upper deck like a ghost. That's when Angela found me. Angela Rodriguez, the ship's youth services director. She was a small Latina woman with kind eyes and a warm smile, and she spotted me sitting alone on a bench, staring at nothing. "Hey there, sweetie," she said gently, sitting beside me. "Are you okay?" I nodded, but my voice wouldn't work. Angela didn't push. She just sat with me, waiting. Finally, she asked if I wanted to go somewhere quiet to talk. She took me to a small lounge in the youth center, wrapped me in a soft blanket, and brought me hot chocolate with marshmallows. That's when the dam burst. Through tears and hiccups, I told her everything. The fake family bonding, the pictures, the promise to come right back, the forged papers. She said she loved me, I choked out. But she left me here. She just left me. Angela's jaw tightened. "Honey, what your mama did was wrong. Very wrong. But you're safe now, and we're going to figure this out together. Do you have any other family we can call?" "My daddy," I whispered. "But he lives in California. I don't know if he'll want to talk to me." "Let's find out," Angela said. She took me to her office and helped me dial the number I still knew by heart. When Daddy answered, I broke down completely. "Daddy. It's Zara." There was a pause. "Zara. Baby girl, what's wrong?" Between sobs, I told him everything. The cruise, the lies, the abandonment. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Okay," he said, and his voice was different. Harder, more determined than I'd ever heard it. "I'm coming to get you. I don't care where you are or how long it takes. Give me to the lady." Angela took the phone and gave him all the details. Our location, the next port, everything. When she handed the phone back, Daddy's voice was steady and strong. "I'm flying out tonight. I'll meet the ship in Puerto Rico. That's about 36 hours from now. I promise you, baby girl, you're never going to be alone again." Those next 36 hours were the longest of my life. Angela moved me to a cabin near hers and checked on me every few hours. She brought me books, puzzles, and art supplies. We talked about everything and nothing. She told me about her own childhood, how her parents had worked multiple jobs to give her opportunities, how she'd chosen to work with young people because she believed every child deserved to feel safe and loved. "You didn't do anything wrong," she told me one evening as we sat on her small balcony, watching the sunset paint the ocean orange and pink. "Sometimes adults make terrible choices, but that doesn't mean you're not worthy of love. You're going to be okay." When we finally docked in San Juan, I stood at the ship's railing, scanning the crowd for Daddy. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. Then I saw him, tall, wearing a blue shirt. His eyes searching every face in the crowd. "Daddy!" I screamed, waving my arms. He saw me and his whole face lit up. I ran down the gangplank and straight into his arms. He caught me and lifted me up, spinning me around like I weighed nothing. He smelled like aftershave and safety and home. "I've got you," he whispered, holding me tight. "I've got you, and I'm never letting you go again." We flew to Los Angeles that same day. As the plane lifted off, I pressed my face to the window and watched the Caribbean islands disappear below. I was leaving behind the worst experience of my life, but I was flying toward something I'd almost forgotten existed. Unconditional love. Daddy's house in Los Angeles was everything our old house in Alabama wasn't. Bright, peaceful, filled with books and music and laughter. He'd turned the spare room into a bedroom for me, complete with a desk for homework, shelves for my books, and a corkboard where I could hang my artwork. That first night, he tucked me into bed and said, "I want to show you something tomorrow. But for now, just rest. You're safe and you're home." The next morning, over banana pancakes, my favorite, he handed me a thick folder. Inside were birthday cards I'd never received, letters I'd never seen, photos of us from when I was little. There were even plane tickets for visits that never happened. "She told me you didn't want to see me," I whispered, flipping through years of undelivered love. "She lied," Daddy said simply. "I sent all of this. Every birthday, every Christmas, every major holiday. I never stopped trying to reach you." I spent the next hour going through everything. Glitter birthday cards, postcards from business trips, even a letter he'd written when I lost my first tooth. My heart ached, not just from what I'd lost, but from what I'd never even known I had. The same week, Daddy took me to meet attorney Patricia Holmes, a sharp, no-nonsense family lawyer who specialized in custody cases. She was a black woman about Mama's age, but where Mama was all flash and charm, Miss Holmes was all substance and strength. "Your mother abandoned you on a cruise ship," she said plainly, reviewing the documents. "That's not just neglect, it's criminal abandonment. We're filing for immediate emergency custody, and we're going to make sure this never happens again." But she didn't just talk about legal strategy. She asked about me, how I was feeling, what I needed, what I wanted for my future. "I want to feel safe," I told her. "I want to stop being afraid that people will leave." "Then that's what we'll work toward," she said. "The law is on your side, but healing takes time. We'll get you both." After the courts granted Daddy emergency custody, he enrolled me at Riverside Elementary, a diverse school about 10 minutes from our house. The hallways were bright with student artwork, And the teachers actually seemed to care about their students as individuals. I was still guarded, still afraid to trust, still expecting people to disappear. But then I met Imani Davis in art class. She had beautiful braids with colorful beads, paint-splattered sneakers, and a laugh that could light up a room. She scooted her chair next to mine and looked at my drawing, a sad little girl sitting alone. "This is really good," she said. "Is this your story?" I shrugged, not sure how to answer. "It's beautiful," she said. "You want to sit with me at lunch?" My grandmama packed extra cornbread. That was it. No pity, no questions, just an invitation to belong. From that day forward, Imani became my first real friend in California. She didn't ask why I flinched when adults raised their voices or why I got quiet when people talked about their mothers. She just shared her cornbread, her crayons, her friendship, and slowly I began to heal. Meanwhile, Ms. Holmes was building our case. She had everything: the cruise ship documents, the forged consent forms, even a voicemail Mama had left with the ship's customer service trying to explain her actions after the fact. At first, Mama didn't respond to the legal papers. Then the calls started coming to Daddy's phone. "Marcus, you're being ridiculous," she'd say. I needed a break. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Don't ruin my life over a misunderstanding. But Daddy didn't engage. He'd already made his choice. "She made her choice when she stepped off that ship," he told Ms. Holmes. "Now I'm making mine." As the weeks turned into months, I started to bloom in ways I'd never imagined. Daddy converted the garage into an art studio, complete with easels, paints, and natural light. He bought me a kid-friendly camera, and every Saturday, we'd go on photography walks, through Griffith Park down to the beach, into the artistic neighborhoods of LA. "You don't have to become her," he told me one afternoon as we sat on our front porch, editing photos on his laptop. "And you never have to beg anyone to stay. The right people will stay because they want to, not because you've earned it." That fall, we flew back to Alabama for the final custody hearing. The courtroom was sterile and intimidating, with fluorescent lights and rows of wooden benches. Mama showed up in a designer suit, her hair perfectly styled, looking like she was attending a business meeting rather than a custody trial. Her lawyer painted a picture of a stressed single mother who'd made a mistake, who'd suffered a temporary breakdown but was ready to make amends. "My client never intended to abandon her daughter," he argued. "This was a cry for help, not a deliberate act of cruelty." Ms. Holmes stood up slowly, her voice calm but lethal. "Your Honor, this woman didn't forget to pick her daughter up from soccer practice. She boarded a cruise ship, took photographs, forged legal documents, and then left the country while her 10-year-old child sailed into the Atlantic Ocean alone. This wasn't stress. This was calculated abandonment." Then it was my turn to speak. I sat in the witness chair, my feet dangling above the floor, Coco tucked beside me for courage. "I thought we were going to have fun," I said, my voice small but steady. She hugged me and took pictures and told me we were making memories. But then she left and I realized I wasn't enough to make her stay. Mama looked away. She couldn't meet my eyes. When the judge granted full custody to Daddy and ordered Mama to pay child support and legal fees, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt free. Back in California, life took on a rhythm I'd never experienced. Stability. I joined the after-school photography club. Imani and I created a photo series about friendship that got displayed in the school lobby. I started volunteering at a local community center, helping younger kids with art projects. Some of those kids had been abandoned too. By parents, by the system, by circumstances beyond their control. I didn't tell them my story at first. I just listened, sat with them while they painted or drew because I understood what it meant to feel invisible. Eventually, they started asking questions. "Did you ever lose someone important? Did it hurt? Did you get better?" "I'm still getting better, but yes." That winter, Daddy introduced me to Camille, a software engineer with natural hair, a gorgeous smile, and the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. She brought me a sketchbook and asked about my favorite drawings. At first I was cautious. I didn't know how to trust someone new. But Camille didn't try to replace anyone or change anything. She just added joy to what we already had. She came to my school plays, remembered my favorite snacks, and didn't flinch when I had nightmares or when I talked about the ship. When she and Daddy got engaged the following spring, she sat me down privately. "Zara, I'd love to be part of your family, but only if you want me to be." I looked at her, really looked, and realized she'd already been part of our family for months. "You already are," I said. I turned 11 on a sunny Saturday, and Daddy surprised me with a professional camera. Not a toy, but a real camera with multiple lenses and everything. Inside the box was an acceptance letter to a summer visual arts program at UCLA. "You earned this," he said as I hugged him tight. "They loved your portfolio." "Thank you for not leaving," I whispered. "Never," he promised. "I will never leave you." But Mama wasn't finished. A letter arrived with no return address. "Zara, I saw your pictures online. You look happy, different. I know you probably hate me. I don't blame you. I was drowning and I didn't know how to swim, so I blamed you for the water. Sorry. Mom." I didn't cry or scream. I just folded the letter and put it in a shoebox with other pieces of my old life. Not to hold on to, but to remember how far I'd come. By middle school, I was no longer the girl who'd been abandoned on a ship. I was still healing, still carrying some scars, but I had tools now. I was co-editor of the school newspaper, had won several regional photography contests, and had built a small but loyal following on my Instagram page, @ZaraCaptures. I posted photos with inspirational captions: empty swings at sunset, single shoes on sidewalks, shadows that looked like hearts. To my surprise, people responded. They shared their own stories of loss and healing. I realized my pain wasn't just mine. It was a mirror for so many others. Daddy and Camille got married that fall in a beautiful ceremony at the Botanical Gardens. No elaborate fanfare, just close friends, heartfelt vows under a canopy of flowers, and me standing beside them with my camera, capturing every moment. They gave me a special role in the ceremony, not just as Daddy's daughter, but as an integral part of their new family. During the reception, Camille's father gave a toast that mentioned how I'd brought joy and creativity into their lives, how I'd helped them understand the power of resilience. After the wedding, things settled into a beautiful routine. Camille taught me advanced photography techniques and photo editing software. Daddy helped me build a darkroom in the basement. I started volunteering at a local youth center, working with kids who'd been through the foster system. Some of those kids had been abandoned too. I didn't always tell them my story, but I shared what I'd learned. That being left behind doesn't mean you're not worthy of love, that healing takes time, and that you can build something beautiful from broken pieces. When I was 13, my school hosted a photography exhibition for students. I submitted a series called Anchored. Photos of empty docks, abandoned boats, lone figures by the water. Each image had a small caption with quotes from my journal. "The ocean didn't drown me, it delivered me. Some storms don't break you, they redirect you. You can be left behind and still move forward." The night of the exhibition, I stood beside my work wearing a white dress Camille had helped me pick out. Daddy, Camille, and my new baby brother Isaiah were there, beaming with pride. Imani showed up with her family, holding a handmade card that said, "You're a star." Then Imani leaned in and whispered, "Don't freak out, but your mom is here." I turned to see Mama standing at the gallery entrance, wearing a simple black dress, her hair pulled back, looking smaller and older than I remembered. She looked tired, not polished, just human. Camille stepped closer. "Do you want me to ask her to leave?" I shook my head. "No. I'll handle it." I walked over slowly, my heart pounding but my steps steady. Mama smiled nervously. "Your work is beautiful, Zara." "Thank you," I said, my voice calm and clear. She looked around at the photographs, then back at me. I wasn't sure I should come. I didn't want to cause trouble. You didn't cause trouble, I said. You just showed up late. Her lips trembled. Zara, I'm so sorry. For everything. The cruise, the years before, the lies. I wasn't a good mother. I didn't answer immediately. What do you say to someone who threw you away? Finally I spoke. I don't hate you, I said. I used to, but not anymore. She blinked back tears. I don't expect forgiveness. Good, I said softly. Because I'm not offering it yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm not carrying the anger anymore either. She nodded quietly, then looked around the gallery again. You built something beautiful here. I didn't think you could. I mean, I didn't know you had this in you. You never looked, I said simply. I see now, she whispered. She didn't stay long, just long enough to witness what I'd built from the pieces she'd left behind. When I got home that night, I found a small envelope under our door. Inside was a photo of me at age 4, curled up asleep in her lap in our old backyard. On the back, in her handwriting, I lost that little girl, but I hope it's not too late to know the woman she became. I didn't respond, but I didn't throw it away either. Some things don't need a response, they just need to be acknowledged. The next spring, I received an acceptance letter to a prestigious summer arts program with a full scholarship. Daddy cried, actually cried, when he read it. Camille made a celebration banner out of construction paper and glitter. Isaiah, now a toddler, danced around the kitchen shouting, Zara's gonna be famous. I didn't know about fame, but I knew this. I had been abandoned, and I had survived. More than that, I had thrived. And the rest of my story was mine to write. By high school, I wasn't just a survivor of abandonment. I was a storyteller. My photography had evolved beyond personal healing into social advocacy. I documented the stories of foster youth, homeless teens, and other young people who'd been overlooked by society. My first major series, Unseen, featured portraits of young people in foster care, but not in sterile offices or institutional settings. I shot them in natural light in front of murals under trees by the ocean, places where they could be seen as whole human beings, not just case numbers. The series went viral. Not because it was flashy, but because it was honest. I started getting messages from teenagers around the country, foster youth advocates, and social workers. This feels like my story. Your lens told my truth. I didn't know how to explain my experience until I saw your work. I realized my pain had become a bridge, not just for my own healing, but for others who'd been abandoned, overlooked, or forgotten. After high school graduation, I opened my own studio in Los Angeles. Zara Washington Photography, Stories Worth Telling. My first major client was a non-profit organization working with foster youth. Instead of the typical sad, grayscale portraits that made kids look like charity cases, I shot them in vibrant color, capturing their dreams, their strength, their humanity. Then I was invited to speak at a national conference on trauma and healing through art. Standing at the podium, looking out at a room full of social workers, therapists, and advocates, I opened with these words. At 10 I was abandoned. At 11 I was angry. 12 I started telling the truth. And by 22, I had built something my mother could never board. The room went silent. Then came the applause. Afterward, a young girl approached me, maybe 12 years old, with braids coming loose and clothes that were too big. She was holding a printout of one of my photos, a girl sitting alone on a ship deck, looking out at the ocean. She left me too, the girl whispered. Last month. Said she'd be back, but she never came. My foster mom showed me your pictures, and now I think maybe I'll be okay. I knelt down to her level and took her hands. You're not invisible, I said. You're not hard to love. And this won't be the end of your story. She hugged me like I was a lifeline, and in that moment I understood my purpose. This was my legacy. Not the wound, but what I'd built from the wound. At 25, I married Malik Stevens, a gentle man who painted murals in schools and community centers. He didn't flinch when I told him my story. He just listened and said, "You built your own wings. That's beautiful." We got married by the ocean, not far from where I'd once been abandoned to the waves. But this time the water didn't scare me. It felt like a blessing, a baptism into a new chapter. When our daughter Amara was born, I made her a promise while rocking her to sleep. "You will always know you are loved. You will never have to wonder if you're enough." On her 3rd birthday, we walked through a retrospective of my work at a local gallery. In the center of the room hung the photo that started it all, a self-portrait I'd taken years before, me at 10, standing at the edge of a ship, clutching cocoa, eyes searching the horizon. Amara tugged my hand. "Mama, is that you?" I nodded. "That was me. Did someone help you get home?" I smiled, picking her up. "Yes, baby. I helped myself." Mama still reaches out occasionally. Simple messages on holidays, forwarded articles about my work, congratulations when my photos appear in magazines. I read them. I don't respond. Not because I'm bitter, but because my peace isn't negotiable. I've forgiven what I could, released what I couldn't, and protected what I built with my own hands, my own vision, and my own relentless belief that the girl abandoned on that ship deserved better than what she'd been given. My life today is everything that 10-year-old girl dreamed of in her loneliest moments. I have a loving husband, a beautiful daughter, a successful career, and a purpose that extends far beyond my own healing. I've spoken at conferences, published photography books, and mentored hundreds of young people who've been abandoned by the very people who should have protected them. But perhaps most importantly, I've learned this truth. Being abandoned doesn't make you abandoned. It makes you free to build something better than what you lost. To anyone reading this who's ever been left behind, by a parent, a partner, a world that didn't see your worth, let me tell you this. You are not the pieces they dropped. You are the masterpiece you rebuilt. You are not forgotten. You are not a burden. You were never the problem. Sometimes the people who leave simply can't carry the love you deserve. So carry it yourself. Build your own ship. Chart your own course. Because the life you build from your own strength, your own vision, your own unbreakable spirit, that's a life no one can ever abandon you from. That's a life they can never board. If this story touched you, please subscribe and share it. You never know who needs to hear that they're not alone, that they're worthy of love, and that their story isn't over. It's just beginning.